Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and as always, before this video starts, not only do I want to express my gratitude towards those who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal or Super Thanks, for which I am very grateful, but also toggle on a problem that surfaced recently. My previous video that I have posted was targeted by YouTube and flagged with 18+ status. This is very unfortunate. However, I believe that showing war footage is important for the context. In any way, whenever I believe that the video that I am showing is too much, I will censor it, but still talk about it. And if you want to see an uncensored version of it, I would kindly ask you to join my Patreon, where I will be posting uncensored versions of that videos. I believe this is one of the most effective ways to fight censorship and help me financially in a way. Thank you for considering it, and I'm waiting for you on my Patreon page. Now that this is out of the way, let's discuss the situation on the fronts. First will be the Zaporozhian front, and to be more specific, Orikhiv direction. First things first, let's discuss situation within and around village of Robotyne. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainian forces continued their offensive operations in this area. They were assaulting Russian positions to the west of the village, in attempt to penetrate Russian defensive lines in this area and advance in the general direction of village Kampani. Ukrainian troops also assaulted Russian positions right in front of the village Novoprokopivka, and these assaults came directly from the village of Robotyne. Near Novoprokopivka, Russians were able to repel all Ukrainian assaults. The same could be said about Ukrainian attacks north of Robotyne. However, Ukrainians did manage to advance ever slightly within the gray zone. Here on this picture, you can see exactly how much and how far they were able to advance. As you can see, not a big territory, and this small territorial change is a part of a bigger operation in attempt to push Russians as far as possible from this area to secure village of Robotyne. At this point, Russians within these positions have full fire control over the village, which makes the life of Ukrainian soldiers advancing within the village much harder. Mainly, the fighting is going on along this road and along these force lines, which obviously has trenches within them. When it comes to effectiveness, Ukrainians generally are not very effective here in this area. Once again, like I said before many times, they are forced to advance neither on the open roads or along the force lines, which doesn't help them all that much. For example, here in this video you can see Russian artillery working very close on the force lines that has Ukrainian trenches within them. What's worse for the Ukrainians is that whenever they enter the village itself, they are still not saved, and in fact Russians have easier time destroying these Ukrainian forces because they are extremely close to the village itself and have full fire control over it. Before we move on, I want to use this moment as an opportunity to ask you to like, comment, and if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Not only will this boost this video's popularity, this will also motivate me to work harder and improve on my craft. Thank you in advance, and let's move on. Then from Robotyne, let's move to Verbove village. Verbove village itself and Russian-controlled trenches along this line were under attack in the last 24 hours. Ukrainians yet again advanced in the direction of Verbove in attempt to enter the city, however were spotted by the Russians and after taking several losses, retreated. Ukrainians also attempted at storming Russian positions within the first Russian line of defense, and currently there is a fierce battle ongoing within these force lines and the trenches located in them. As I speak, the result of that battle is still unclear. Both Russians and Ukrainians are sending reinforcements in attempt to sway the chances of winning. The situation here is somewhat the same as in Robotyne, as Ukrainians are advancing along the roads and the force lines in the direction of ongoing battle. Russian artillery, drones, and aviation are having a field day and are actively destroying advancing Ukrainian columns and troops. This greatly hinders Ukrainian advances in this area, which is one of the reasons why we didn't see much territorial changes, despite Ukrainians attacking with resilience and consistency worthy of a true warriors. When it comes to the entire front, Ukrainian assaults were reported from Molotokmachka in the direction of Novopokrovka, and again there were limited attacks in the direction of Kampani. all Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Novoprokopivka failed. Same could be said about Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Verbove. From here, let's move to the Rimika tactical bridgehead and discuss the situation here also. There were reported assaults in the direction of Priutne, as well as from Novodarivka and Rivnopol to the northeast of the village. At this point in time, there is no reason to suggest that Ukrainians were successful in that endeavor. There were also limited Ukrainian attacks from Starmayorsky and Urozhaine. However, I believe they are of probing manner, and it shouldn't be surprising that they were unsuccessful. Ukrainians also assaulted Russian positions all across this Russian-controlled salient in attempt to get rid of it, however, were unsuccessful. Village of Novodonetsky was a target by the Ukrainians attacking from Zlotoniva, and village of Novomayorsky was attacked by Ukrainians from Klishchiivka. With attacks on those villages, Ukrainians also continued their advance in attempt to penetrate Russian defensive lines in between the two villages. Currently the battle is ongoing and the result will be known in a few days. I will make sure to keep you updated on it. Then from here let's move to Bakhmut city and discuss the situation here. First of all, let's discuss the situation on the southern flank of it. As you can see, Syriac maps had updated a map and now the village of Andriivka is in a blue zone, which means Ukrainians had captured it. Here is the drone footage of the village in question. As you can see, the village is destroyed and there are no buildings that can provide both Russians and Ukrainians with any defensive capabilities. In the back you can also see a rail line for which both Russians and Ukrainians are currently battling out. To be more specific, Ukrainians are attacking to the north of Avdiivka as well as to the south of it in attempt to expand their zone of control along the rail line. Russians, however, are not sitting idly here and are constantly counterattacking Ukrainians. This is one of the reasons why Andriivka was contested for so long. Any Ukrainian forces that were sighted within Andriivka were immediately counterattacked by the Russians, and it would seem only now Ukrainians are able to gain full control over it. There were also reported Ukrainian assaults in the general direction of villages Zelenopilya, Kurdyumovka as well as Ozornikivka, and report suggests that they all failed. From here, let's move to the settlement of Klishchiivka and discuss the situation here. First of all, I have a drone footage for you of Russian soldiers in the middle of rotation. They are moving out of this portion of the village, and as you can see on the video, they are doing so seemingly careless, which could be the proof that Russians are still in full control over northern part of the village, and claims that Klishchiivka is in full Ukrainian control are false. Now, from here, let's move to the northern flank of Bakhmut and discuss the situation here. As always, Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Yagodne and Bridgehead were unsuccessful. However, their attacks in the direction of Bridgehead resulted in a tragedy. Remember the disclaimer at the beginning of the video where I said that some of the videos would be censored. This is one of them. So, unfortunately, you won't be able to see anything. However, those who are watching my video on Patreon will be. The report suggests that this video was recorded by Ukrainians, and this is one of their unsuccessful attacks in the direction of Bridgehead. You can see infantry fighting vehicles and tank advancing in this area. The footage itself is quite cinematic. As you can see on the video, Ukrainian tanks are firing on the Russian positions within the tree lines while being fired upon by the Russians. You can also see BMPs loading out infantry, which is supposed to enter the force lines and initiate battle for the trenches within them. However, the video ends abruptly and pretty fast. And what was next is complete destruction of almost all of these troops. Now, there's also interesting situation developing here. For a long time, Ukrainians were trying to close off this Russian-controlled salient. It is located on the high grounds. The village of Dubovo-Vasilivka is also located on the high grounds. So, for that reason, Ukrainians were continuously assaulting Russian positions in the direction of the village to take full control of it, which will help them attack in the direction of Bridgehead, as well as to cut off E40 highway. E40 highway is crucial not only for the defense of Bakhmut, but also for the defense of Russian positions near Zalishyansky and this area here. In fact, there were Ukrainian attacks reported along the highway itself and in the direction of Zalishyansky. But because of the fact that Russians were heavily fortifying this area, to this day, Ukrainians are still unable to penetrate Russian defensive lines here in this area. Anyway, this is the end of the video. I hope it was informative enough for you. If it was, you know what to do. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.